All right, I think we can get started. I just have one small question for everyone. So we have a sales fact table here already, right? And this is a very important topic we are going to be discussing and a very quick and easy fix for it. My purpose for today's session is how we can make our model more reusable, how we can ensure like we don't do the same kind of work for five different items and just copy paste the things. Okay, I just want to have something where we can create it once and use it at five different areas. So now this is one of those things. If I already have a sales fact table, can anyone tell me why or what could be the mindset of why there are two different sales fact table in my model? Like what could be the mindset behind having these two different sales fact table? There must be a reason, right? Or there could be a mistake. But what do you think? Think from a developer standpoint, like why they would have created multiple sales fact table. Maybe looking at their name, do you think if you take a look at their names, does that provide any sort of guidance on why they are here in our model? Sorry, Vivek, you are trying to say something.
Yeah, yeah. Am I audible now?
Now you are, yes.
Yeah. So source, I think source sales fact table is to keep track of the data that we might be getting from the source as data source, and there might be some aggregations that we might do, or changes we might do, refinements we might do afterwards, which can be created as a fact table afterwards, which can be used as a different table altogether.
Very true. Yeah. So some piece of it is very important. And I'll tell you, when we create or design a semantic model, we should not, there is a specific structure or layer we follow. Okay. Let's say you have data sources, Azure SQL for that matter, and you're trying to fetch data from Azure SQL to Power BI to create a one single semantic model. So there could be there should be multiple layers you should have in mind. One is how you are sourcing the data. Like, okay, you have a raw table or a view in Azure SQL, you are fetching it as is. So that is your source. Okay, this is the source you are getting from Azure SQL. Now, there will be certain transformations you might be applying. Transformations like data types, changing the data types, applying certain data cleaning steps like fixing the nulls or merging or appending certain column. So some level of technical transformations you have applied or you would be applying. So all those transformations should be part of your staging table. And then once those transformations are done, there should be a final cleaned up table coming out of on top of it. And that final table or final layer should be your actual output. Okay. So when we do an ETL operation on top of our model, data extract, transformation, and load, the extracted data should look like as is. Transformation should look like there are certain transformations, and then there is the final load and final table coming up. Okay, so but the thing which is not coming up pretty well here is if we just need the final table, why do we really have two separate tables also loaded in my model? And that is something which is totally wrong, and I'll show you how. For example, let me share another screen here. So this is a Power BI file, right? PBIX file. And there we go. See, in my Power BI file, take a look at its current size. This is somewhere around 15.3 MB. 15.3 MB file for this small data model. Okay. Now just take a note of that number and see but whether we can further optimize this or not. Okay. First of all, okay, we do need the staging layer, we do need the source layer, but we do not need them to load them in our model. Okay, we should be keeping them, but as a reference query, not as a loaded loaded table altogether. So this is what we should be doing. Let me go back to Power Query Editor. Okay, there we go. All right. See, now there are certain things we should be clearing up here as well. You see multiple dimension tables, multiple sales fact tables. Now take a look at what is happening here. This is the source. So source basically means there must be a certain data source. In this case, it might be an Excel, for example, here. And no, as such steps are being applied on top of it. These are some default steps which Power BI is applied. Okay, so this is my source layer. Then there comes staging. Staging means you might be doing certain transformations which are crucial. So we have all these transformations being applied, right? So maybe I'm trying to remove certain columns. Uh, if I go a little bit on top stage, okay, I can see there are certain errors, and to clean up those errors, the developer might have removed the top rows. It has removed certain columns which are not needed. And then this is the final table which has come up. And then we have a sales fact table. Again, when there are certain removed top rows and column step is being applied. Now, the problem with this approach is it is trying to load the same specific table three times. Okay. So let's say this might not be having that much of data, but consider a fact table which is having around 12 million rows. If you are trying to load 12 million rows three times, your refresh of your model, which could be taking around 4 or 5 minutes, it might go up till beyond 20 minutes. Okay. And that is something which is alarming in this situation. So how do we create a staging pattern here? So for that, what we should be doing is, first of all, we should not be hitting the source again and again. Consider you are using Azure SQL or on-premise SQL Server. If you are having three different queries, it's gonna hit the source every time for the same thing which you're trying to do, right? There are no other areas. Your load, it is giving the same level of or same amount of load. So how do we fix this? First of all, there is an option here. Let's say this is your source. This is the first query which you have loaded. You can right click on it and you will see an option of reference. So what this reference will do is whatever steps which are already applied here, it will use that as a reference point and it will create a new uh, query for me altogether. Okay. So now that this reference is created, and you can maybe name this one as staging. Okay. For this matter, name this one as staging. So you see the source for this table is source sales spec. So I'm not hitting my source again. I'm just hitting this specific query. And now if I have to do certain transformations, like if I have to remove top rows or bottom rows or do any sort of cleaning steps, I can perform here. Okay, so now this is done. All right, I have done my step on the staging. Maybe I can rename this properly, something like this. So once this is done, you have to ensure one very important thing. Uh, Now the clean transformations are done, I have to create a final table, right? I have to create a final model layer. So for that, which is like this, in my case, this table, I have to again ensure like whatever staging query or staging layer I have created, I can again right click on it and use this as my reference point. Okay. And that way you can just name this one as your final. I'll just rename it a bit differently so that uh, it does not overlap with this one. So this could be your final sales fact table. Okay. Because now think about it, all the transformations are already applied here. Now, the final table which you really have to load, this should be the one. But what about the others which you have created? Like, for example, this one. So let's say if you have created tables like this or like this, you can right click on it and ensure like you uncheck the enable load. So as soon as you do that, enable load, this as well I will disable. Staging I don't need, this as well I will disable. So this should be a final sales fact table, okay? And uh, and it's very easy. Like this is what my final query is, right? And I can give the same name to here to this specific sales fact table as well, right? So let's say here my source should be staging sales fact. And I don't really need all of these other steps because those are already applied. So when you work in Power Query Editor, this formula bar on the top, this will be very relevant and crucial for you in certain aspects. So for example, here now my sales fact table is referring to what? Staging sales fact, which is this one. Staging sales fact, this is referring to what? Source sales fact, which is this one. So I don't really need this table. I can delete this one. This one I created just to demonstrate you, so I can delete this as well. So that way I have a proper structured, source, staging, and final layer. And once it is created, what you can do is you can create a new group as well. Okay, just right click on any table, move to group, and maybe just name this one as source, so that everything which you are bringing as is from the source, that will be moved to source. Similarly, your staging layer, right? Create a new group. Sorry, we can move. Let's create a new group here, new group, and name this one as staging. So it is very important for us. And these are some very basic hygiene techniques or methodology on modeling side. Whether you do it or now or not, the major impact you will see is you might not see any issues right now. But once this model matures enough, it scales up, this is gonna be causing a lot of issues to you in future. Okay, if this is not properly taken care of. So this is being done here. And then final, whatever which you are loading, you can rename that one as just create a new group. Uh, let's say this sales fact table, right? I can create a new group here, and that will be your final destination, or you can give it any name, like this is my final load or something, and that will be stored in that specific model. Any other helper queries could be segregated out as well. So this is one folder structure. If you wanna keep a separate folder structure for, let's say, facts and dimension, that is something which you can do. So like I showed you or told you, we should be focusing more on reusing techniques, right? So this is one of the reusing technique where we use reference query and just disable the load for the ones which we do not need. This disabling the load is very enough. The way this functions is every time there is a refresh on the sales fact table, it's gonna query at the back and it's gonna query, okay, hey, what's the source looks like? So it will refresh your staging sales fact, and then it will check the query of this sales fact, and then it will refresh the source sales fact as well. So at the back end, it will follow all those steps. The only thing is it is not loading the fact table three times in your model, right? That's one important thing we should be taking care of. Now, if I um, click, let's say, close and apply for now, there is one more important thing we want to discuss, but let me click close and apply and show you how this looks like. So this is coming up well, loading up all the tables, rows. There you go. Let's quickly check the model. Okay, now we don't have any other separate table, right? So you saw how my file size looks like 15.3 MB, right? Now, if I save this model, see here, now the model is saved. Let's see how the whether the file size is dropped or not. So, oh, see, this one is the latest file size, 556. See, this was previous one where the file size was 15.3 MB. This got reduced to somewhere around just 11 MB. So 4 MB of file size is already reduced in such a small model. So think it from a large scale enterprise wide implementation standpoint. If you will be loading additional tables or even additional columns in that matter, that's going to cause a lot of issues in your performance and file size. And the problem with that is as your model size grows, it will cause issues in your development. Your model might hang or lag a bit. And once it reaches over a GB or something, if you are just having Power BI Pro license, you might not be able to even publish it. So that's why we ensure like we make our tables reusable. We just load it once and reference it everywhere. Yeah, appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much for joining.